Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue au Pendu dans un Cercle de Lune. Hello friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know from my intro to this, my attempt at a French intro to this video, that this is my series in which I use Terre de Marseille adjacent, and antique Italian decks. Plus, now I've added Oracle decks to get a central message pulled out of my larger weekly spread, which I've already done. And if you haven't seen that larger weekly spread, I highly recommend you go and watch it first, so you get the basis, the foundation from which the answer to this week's question is coming from. So I'll put a card up here for you to hop on over and take a look at that spread. It's a really interesting one. It's a phenomenal, intricate, and cohesive, I think, a particularly cohesive spread this week. And you don't have to watch it in one sitting. Just saying. You could watch it in bits and pieces. So watch that and come back. Just in case you have watched it and come back, and it's been a while since you've seen it, and you want a quick refresher, let me just remind you that the title of the spread was called Clean House or Cleaning House. Oh my God, what was it? Should have written it down. Clean House. I think it was Clean House. So why did I call it Clean House? I actually was thinking of spring cleaning. It was cleaning out the sludge from the stuff that has just accrued over time, that has just turned into slimy gunk. We're suggested to clear that out and open ourselves to reveal our uniqueness and our power and our refreshed vitality. And we want to be careful of what's going on around us. We want to be clear. We don't want to be complicated. We want to have we want to crystallize our plans. We want to crystallize our concepts. We want to simplify as we clear out. We use the resources that we have, and we want to be careful that we're making the right choices. We're not holding on to the chainsaw when the work of the chainsaw is done. We want to be careful that we're not getting interference from the outside world, but we want to keep on our course. We want to be open and receptive, not to the noise, not to the junk, but to those things which will be useful to our growth and to our new revelation of our freshly rediscovered selves. Does that make sense? So, now you know why I want to get a concise message from that weekly spread. And I've got a whole spread laid out for you. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to show you the question that I ask every week. Then I will show you the spread that came out answering that question, and then we'll talk about the cards. Are you ready? Here we go. Friends, you saw that we got from left to right, on top, with the Terre de Marseille, we had the Knight of Wands, the 8 of Coins, and the 5 of Swords. No majors, but we did have fire, earth, and air. No water, but it was only 3 cards. You can't expect everything to show up in the 3-card spread. So the water was missing. So maybe we might want to give a little bit of side attention to our emotions, or maybe our emotions are not the key players this week. Maybe. We also had 3 cards below, which are from a different deck, an Oracle deck. So what did you think of these cards? The Terre de Marseille cards on top are from a deck from Tarot de Marseille Heritage by Yves Renaud. And I'll put a link to the name. I'll put the name of the deck and a link to the website in the description box below. This is the first time I've actually really used this particular deck, but I love it. I love the colors. I love the blues. I love the blues in this deck in particular. The quality of that bluish color I think is just lovely. I love the drawing of the deck. It's not of the earliest created deck in my collection, in my library, I should say. But it's beautiful. And so we'll look at those. The cards below, if you've been here before, you already know. Those three cards are from the Cercle de Lune, the Berlin Oracle, which I've described in another video. It was an oracle that was created in France before the turn of the century, before the turn of the 20th century, so in the late 1800s. And then it was rediscovered in the 1900s, the middle of the 1900s, and mass-produced. And it's a phenomenon. It's an oracle deck based on astrology and with the concept of Tarot de Marseille. So I think these two decks, the Cercle de Lune and my Tarot de Marseille decks, pair up phenomenally. And I read the Cercle de Lune in a way like a Lenormand deck a little bit. But we'll get to that in a little bit. First, let's start out with the Tarot de Marseille, and we started off with the Knight of Wands. And you'll notice that the Knight of Wands, though the body seems to be moving in this direction, both the Knight and the horse's heads are turned towards this direction, right? Which is where the wand is. So what I get the idea that the Knight is turning around to move in this direction. And from that feeling, from that impression, that's the direction we're going to read these cards in. We're going to start off with the Knight of Wands and then move into the Eight of Coins and then the Five of Swords. And the Eight of Coins and the Five of Swords are elementally ill-dignified. But I'm not sure I want to, well, we'll see. We'll get there when we get there. Okay, so let's start off with the Knight of Wands. Beautiful knight. I'm not sure how clearly you can see the colors here, but the colors in this deck I love them. The colors in this deck I love them. I can English, really good. So the Knight of Wands, who is that? This is the knight of action, of adventure, and fearlessness. Yeah? This is the knight who's able to ride off onto a quest. Maybe not quite as reckless as the Knight of Swords for me, but still willing to go off on an unknown journey. The knight is also holding a big old stick, right? So there's a little sexual energy here, and it's creative energy as well. Creative energy in the sense of sexuality, of course, but also creativity in the sense of making stuff in the world, creating in the world, channeling instinct into that creative energy as well, into that creative activity. Courage, having the courage to do the stuff, to go out on an adventure, sure, but also having the courage to do the act of creation as well. And the knight has healing abilities, according to some traditions. But I think what we're really looking at here, because of the Emperor card which was doubled in the larger spread from this week, I think the focus here is on our actions, in our willingness to go on an adventure, to do the work without fear, and to channel our sexual and creative energies and instinct into our new journey after we've done the work of cleaning up. Now, the next card we get here is the Eight of Coins, right? Which is a card of being open to abundance. Caring for self, nurturing our health, and being in balance with nature, but also abundance. There's abundance and a prosperous fullness available to us here. A little bit reminiscent of the 10 of Coins from this week's larger spread. There's a harmony and wealth. A harmonious flow of energies. Because it's 4 on top of 4, the 8 are in, we can see the flow of potential energy here, right? But it's not a rush, like maybe an 8 of Wands would be. This 8 is slow and patient advance with fulfillment. It's the fulfillment. It's moving towards fulfillment. 8s are moved towards fulfillment, right? With harmony, with wealth, with balance, and abundance. So this Knight, out on his, her, their, our adventure, with all of that directed libido in the sense of Adler. I think Adler is the one who conceptualized. For Freud, libido was mostly sexual. For Adler, libido is the inner innate power of the psyche, which can be sexual, but it has so much more than that, according to Adler. And I think it's Adler. That's the libido I'm talking about. Yeah, it could be sexual, but there's also so much more, so many more different ways that core psychic energy can express itself in. So we've got that directed here through our abundance, through our nurturing, through our self-care, and our harmony. We move forward with all of that. Those two cards are very harmonious. Now, here we have a 5 of Swords, which is ill-dignified. Swords and Earth are ill-dignified, but maybe that ill-dignity is beneficial here. Because the 5s of Swords, the 5s, are all breakouts, right? They're breakouts. The 4s are stable. They're structured. They're strong, which is great after the 3s, to have that stability, to have that foundation. But that foundation can become a prison, can become confinement after time. And so here we break free and we break out. Thinking outside of the box, which is something the Knight of Wands actually will want, well, where are you? Which is something that the Knight of Wands will actually want to do, will benefit from. Open-mindedness, curiosity, having new ideas. We could be resuming an old study, it's possible, but I think we're pointed towards the new here. And having the mind to perfect our knowledge. Finding new ways of viewing the world, finding new ways of understanding those things that we perhaps even know. Exploring the world inside of us as well. The adventure could be outside, like riding through the fields into the mist, but it could also be riding within, an internal journey, an exploration of our internal psychic worlds. Psychic in both senses, in the senses of psychic of the sixth sense psychic, or the psychic of the psyche. So, what do we get here? We get the Knight, ready to ride out, action, adventure, directing libido, riding forth with and in the direction of being open to abundance and prosperous fulfillment, with harmony, doing some self-care on the way, and being willing to think outside of the box, being open, curious, finding new ways of perceiving things, finding new ways of understanding what we experience in the apparent exterior environment and what we experience within. Does that make sense? Does that seem to be a crystallization? We had a little bit of that crystallization idea in the larger spread this week. A crystallization of this week's overarching reading from the larger spread, where we get rid of the old. Getting rid of the old, we ride into the new, right? Maybe this is the way to do that. Now we've got some very interesting information from below, not below being like right below the cards, in the Cercle de Lune. What is that? We went from left to right with the cornucopia, then we had the scroll and the garden. Let's start off with the cornucopia, which is associated directly with Mercury. The wording on the side is argent, which is really interesting. Argent, what I know from argent is that it's the French word for silver. But apparently the French word for silver is also the word for money. So it means money here. But I also think of silver as well, which is interesting because silver is the color of Mercury, right? The fluid, the silver water of Mercury from the alchemical process, from the doing the work of alchemy. We use mercury, sulfur, and salt to create the philosopher's stone with the animum, with not the animum mundi, with the prima materia. We take the prima materia, we work on it with sulfur, mercury, and salt, and we do the work to get the philosopher's stone, right? And so the part of that is the mercury here. And we got sulfur in the larger spread this week with the emperor. Here we've got mercury and argent with silver. I just think this is so interesting. Okay, so what does it mean? According to the original author of this deck, it's wishes, it's fulfillment, harvesting of blessings in life, which, you know, 8 of coins, just saying, yeah. Financial windfalls are possible here, but good fortune, yeah. Good fortune, good income, investments look good. But overarching, it's the manifestation of our heart's desires. What do we want in our lives? What do we want? This is where we begin. We begin with, that's a coming. We have if we don't mess it up, that's what's coming towards us. And that's what we're riding in the direction of with the Knight of Wands. The subplanet for this card is Venus. Yeah? Venus, which is called the lesser beneficent. Jupiter is the greater beneficent. Venus is the lesser beneficent. Venus is the giver of material blessings. And if Jupiter is near this card, Jupiter supersizes Venus's power in this card. And guess what that next card we got was? It was the scroll, which is ruled by Jupiter. So this card supersizes Venus's power in the cornucopia. Sounds exciting, right? What is this card here to tell us? Well, on the side, we have the word héritage, which is inheritance. Yeah? Now, the scroll itself is a symbol for esoteric information waiting for manifestation. So there's knowledge. Remember, we're writing out to think outside of the box, to perfect our knowledge. We got that here from the Five of Swords. Esoteric information waiting to be manifested. And the skull is here to show spirit and intellect, ready to receive and think about that esoteric knowledge, which is ready to be revealed. In addition to the hourglass here, which are cycles of time. So the sand runs down and then we flip it over and we begin a new cycle. So all of that is part of, I don't think I've been holding these cards well for you. All of that is part of this one idea of the scroll, information, perhaps esoteric, waiting to be manifested. We have the skull and the spirit and the mind to receive it. And this is the beginning of a new cycle of knowing, of learning, of growth. And yet, the scroll card is pointing again towards inheritance. Now remember, financial windfall in the previous card. Inheritance here. But that inheritance is not necessarily all cash money or land. It could also be knowledge, the stories, the history, the legacy that is passed down generation to generation, not all in, again, cash money, but in our stories, in our heritage, in our legacies of the diversity of our legacies. knowledge transmitted from person to person, from ancestor to descendant, from older friend to younger friend even. And the subruler here is the sun, which makes Jupiter a beacon of knowledge and justice. So unusual achievements, significant material means are possible here. So the inheritance again is not only cash money perhaps, but also other things, land perhaps, but also knowledge, wisdom, traditions, which we receive and we grow if we're living lives of expansion, right? So all these blessings from the cornucopia moving into more received blessings here through the scroll in diverse form, yeah? And being the beacon of knowledge and justice through that. Sounds pretty good. And we move into the garden, which is associated by the sun. Yeah? Lesser planet of the sun. Next card is the sun. Now, this words on the side here say campang and sante. Campang and sante. Maybe sante. My French pronunciation is not good. Correct me, please. Translated into English, I can pronounce these words are countryside and health. So, yeah, weekend in the country, how losing. Okay, so a countryside, the health. Going out into nature, going out into the countryside for the purposes of health. Possibilities here. So we have ideas of relaxation, easing up, also safety and healing. Healing has been important in the larger spread, I think. A vacation may be called for, but reconnecting with nature and reconnecting with our health, I think, is important here. And the subplanet here is Jupiter. Jupiter. Main Jupiter, sub-Sun. Main Sun, sub-Jupiter. These two cards are mutually linked. So with Jupiter here being the subplanet, we have balance, we have wealth, preservation, and social order, the good life. Yeah? Like a country squire living the good life. Because this deck is coming from an older time, right? Where there were still country squires running around the countryside, I guess. So we've got all of that. I think all of this joins together to add information to that Eight of Coins. So if we do the work of the Knight of Wands, riding forward, we'll have this potential of amazing abundance, both financially, also informationally, which is wonderful because the next thing we want to put our attention on is breaking out of our box of thought with the Five of Swords. New points of view. Restarting or starting a new way, a new course of learning. Perhaps in an institution, or with our own guidance, right? Begin learning something new. Expanding the mind. Which is wonderful. And indicated just a smidge in the larger spread this week. But we have to be careful that we don't lose our focus. Our mind isn't so open that it cracks apart, right? We want to keep focused, but open. Does that make sense? If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. Now, friends, I'd love to hear from you. And I'd like to thank you for all of you who have already done this. Thank you very much. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for being here and joining me on this journey, because the more of us that are gathered here, the more that we'll have the opportunity to see these videos and decide for themselves whether they want to continue on the journey with us or not. So Thank you for doing those things of subscribing, hitting the alarm bell, hitting the thumbs up button. They're a benefit to me and to the channel and to eventually other people who will get to see these videos. Thank you for all of those of you who have reached out and asked for a reading from me. I love doing that for you. So if you want to do that, my email address is below. The Hanged Man in the Moon. Shoot me an email. We'll get you a reading. Friends, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll stop here. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.